hand motion or come back in. What's up, guys? Nick and Dustin here with Two Brothers Comics, and tonight we are going to do another live stream interview with another creator from Madcave Studios, so stay tuned. All right, Dustin. So we have another fantastic writer from Madcave Studios, Mr. Jared Luján. Okay. He is starting the new book, Dryfoot. All right. And we have him on to talk with us for the next hour or so. So bring any questions, anything you want to know. And Mr. Jared, glad to have you on, sir.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. Awesome. So, Dustin, you want to kind of go through the chat, see who we have in, and say hello? Right. All right. So we've got Superior Hero Reviews. What's up, guys? How y'all doing? Got Jay Blitz. Glad to have you, Jay Blitz. Bro. You're doing better? Yep. No, he's been sick. We got G Matrix Art.
Oh, hey, that's one of my buddies. What's up, man?
All right. Right on. We got Justin Birch. That's a regular viewer. Thank you. Love it. So for those of you out there that don't know, Justin Birch is actually the letterer on a ton of these comics, including Dryfoot.
Crazy talented.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Let's see. We've got my Sunday morning co-host, my good brother, Captain Comics. What's going on, man? We've got Manuel Castellanos. Hope I said that name right. Yeah. Hopefully. Here goes my number one fan right here, Mr. Mark the Cuddy Sart. What's going on, brother? All right. So good. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Again, at the end, any questions you have, make sure to save them because we want this to be really interactive. So, Jared, again, tonight's all about you, my friend. You have a new book coming out. It's going to drop June 2020, right?
Yes, sir. June 2020.
Do we have an actual date within June, or are we still kind of playing with that?
It's still kind of playing with it. Okay. I'm thinking we're going to have more concrete information for everybody pretty soon. It's got to go into previews. If I'm not mistaken, it's got to go into previews in April. But it's never too early to start talking about, good comics.
Absolutely. Perfect, man. So let's kind of go right into it. Let's talk a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got into comics, and kind of some of the things you do. So I'll let you take it.
Yeah. So how I got into comics is like this weird convoluted story. I've always really liked reading. I was a really big bookworm in school, and I couldn't tell you the first comic I read, but like me and all my friends, we in my hometown of Del Rio. It's like 3 miles from the border of Mexico, right here in Texas. Okay. We would just like trade comics coming up all the time, and I'm pretty sure my first comic was a Deadpool comic. Like it was a Deadpool on cable. Yeah. And Deadpool was like, because it's the border and we were all trouble kids. There's his guy with 2 swords talking about chimichangas, and we're like, yeah, sign me up, So I think that's kind of how I got into it. And we kind of came up with that. So I, as a kid, I was just off trading. Del Rio doesn't actually have a comic shop. It still doesn't. So once I got a job, and I was ordering them on Amazon and getting them delivered and stuff like that. And then when I moved for college, I finally had an LCS. And ever since then, it's just been a constant thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm from Del Rio. I lived there my whole life until I was 18. Now I still live in Texas. Don't think I'll ever leave because the Texan people are arrogant thing. Totally true, 100%. I'm like, every time I do these with anybody that's not from Texas, I'm like, oh, it's the best state in the union. I love it. It's the greatest land,
It's the Republic of Texas, man.
Yeah. So I've been here my whole life. I've been in comics as a writer for 3 years. I guess seriously, I wanted to be a writer since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I think comics really gravitated towards me because I'm really bad at describing things in prose. And Orlando, the artist on Dryfoot, can probably attest to that pretty well. Because I'm just like, yeah, it's red. You know what red is. You don't need me to spend a paragraph explaining to you how red this barn is. It's red. Shut up. So comics, I was like, yeah, it's visual. It's something. Hey, Anthony, love you. It's visual, and it's a really. And I also like after my first comic, I got super into the collaborative nature of it. And it's super great. And I think it's my favorite thing is getting each step. After the script. Writing the script is the worst part because it gets better every step after that. So but that's about
Well, that's pretty interesting. And one fun fact for people who don't know, you were actually one of the talent search winners, right?
I am. Yeah. So, I won last year.
Yeah. So talk to me kind of how that process was for you.
Man, that I'm glad. I really wish Anthony was watching this. If like
he's live. Actually he's on, but he can't hear us.
Okay. I entered the first year. Yeah. And I lost, obviously, and or I didn't get selected. I think lost is a kind of a harsh word for that. But I didn't get selected. I spent the next year writing my own comics and doing pitches and stuff like that. And the second year came around, and I've had some decent success since then in terms of my own comics and doing short things. And I really have worked with some real talented artists and stuff that I can't put out into the world just yet. So I was like, Anthony and I have been friends for several years. And so he had messaged me and he was like, hey, the deadline for the Madcave talent search is ending at the end of this. It was like the month before. And he was like, are you planning on entering? And I was like, man, I don't really think that's going to be, my path to the miniseries and stuff like that. I really want to just focus on telling my own independent stories and stuff like that. And he was like, I really think you should. You have you're good and you have a real chance of winning. You should really kind of give it a go. And so because, I'm a sucker for a good compliment, I was like, all right, I'll whip something up. And I ended up doing a story about in the Midnight Task Force universe. Yeah. And I got picked, and I was like stunned. But yeah. So it was. I almost didn't. I was literally about 30 days away from missing the deadline, and I wound up just kind of going on a just to shoot my shot sort of thing.
That's fantastic, though, man. And I don't know if it's anything you can. I don't know if Mark's out there listening, and it's anything you can say. But Midnight Task Force, the way it ended, I mean, I want a volume 2 now. So I don't know if you played off of that or what you played off of, but I bet you it was probably a pretty interesting concept.
Yeah, I tried to play off of. I didn't do any of the main characters. Partially because the bar was kind of high. I don't know how I could jump into that world with everything that I left off of with Midnight Task Force. So I kind of like did a story about the future. It's about like a small crime. They robbed like a convenience store, and it's sort of about how the way that it's that tone of how Midnight Task Force is like the future still kind of sucks, like it's dope, but it's still kind of terrible. And so I worked with that, worked that into it, and it was a really dark story. I don't always write dark stuff, but that one happened to be pretty dark. And but I was pretty stunned that I got selected, just because a month before I wasn't planning on entering it.
But sometimes, for me, I always do my best stuff at the very last second. Maybe that was kind of the same thing for you, but that's awesome, man. That's an interesting story for sure. So let's get right into it then. Let's start talking about Dryfoot. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pull up the cover because it's a fantastic cover. Y'all check it out. So, and if I'm not mistaken, Orlando, and I can't pronounce his last name, so forgive me, I don't want to butcher it, but he was the cover artist, correct? As well as the interior?
Yeah, so Orlando, or I believe it's pronounced Gallicero, but I'm not 100%, but Orlando did the cover art, he's doing the interior art, and Nia, whose name I'm really terrified of mispronouncing, but I'm going to try it because I love you, Nia. Sahadewa, she's from Indonesia, I think.
Okay.
But she did the color art for the cover, and she does it for the book as well. But that is like a gorgeous cover.
Oh
yeah, getting that, just you guys got to see that. You guys didn't know it was there. I got that in my drive folder like a months ago, and so I've got to keep this secret from everybody. And it was impossible. It was the most difficult. I'm terrible at keeping secrets already. And then they're gonna let me. I don't even know why they let me in the drive anymore. The script's done. They should just lock it up and don't let me in it anymore. Because now I'm just like, I'm always like 2 steps away from being like, oh, this is going on Twitter. People have to see this. But yeah, it's a gorgeous cover.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, what drew me to it was the colors, right? That purple and that kind of that like pink, and then that off color kind of teal blue.
Yeah.
And I think Anthony actually he shared it. Those old '90s style cups.
Yeah.
That pattern, man, it was perfect. So, so let's talk a little bit about it. I know that you were picked, and was this a story you created, or was this one of their IPs where they picked you to write it? How did that process work?
So it is one of Madcave's IPs, but like they gave me, everything worked out super well with the talent search and with Madcave, because I was reading Madcave's books before the talent search. I've read Battle Cats, I read Midnight Task Force. I was big into Knights of the Golden Sun. I obviously read Show's End. It's Anthony's book, which is good by Show's End. But
it's a great book.
Yeah, and so whenever I got picked, I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, I really don't want to do something with superheroes or superpowers or like sci-fi. I want to do something really grounded. I ended up getting Dryfoot, which isn't superpowers or anything. Madcave was super cool. They gave me like a general plot. I think it was like 3 kind of general plot ideas. They gave me the characters, told me where they were from, what they were interested in, and then just let me run with it. They just kind of like took the chain off after they showed me everything. They were really cool about everything I wanted to do in the story. I know some of it is probably a little bit risky, but I really wanted to tell this really rooted, heavy story, super emotional story. And they really it's absolutely Madcave's IP, but it really feels like it's my story. It's a real personal story, or our story. I don't want anyone to think that this is my story. It's me and Orlando and Mia and Chris Fernandez, our editor. It's really, they really look a personal
place.
Yeah, the story is the gist of it is it's 4 friends who really want to get out of it's in 1984 Miami, and for people who didn't spend a week or 2 researching Miami at that time period, it's about at the end of 1984 was right around some of the most violent time. There were some gang wars that were coming to a close. Lots of drugs moving in and out of Miami. So I really wanted to write something that, well, obviously the book and the book I was kind of told it was going to be something like similar to that. So where I'm from and where I live and from where I work right now, where I work right now is in the barrio of the city I live right now. And I see all these kids all the time and I know them, I get to know them on a really close level, people that suffer or go through some really terrible stuff in their life. And I saw that growing up a couple of times, and growing up from the border, it's not like something you can pretend like, the cartels don't exist, and then, so a lot of that, strikes home for me. It hits a personal nerve with me, but more than that, it's the characters. So much of the characters are like a mixture of maybe one of my a personality trait I have, that I think is like a flaw or that I think is a good quality. And then I mixed it with one of like my own childhood friends.
Right.
So like these kids are all very like almost like people I know. And so writing them was like a really crazy experience, because I was like, instead of, the main character's name is Diego. Instead of Diego, I would be like, would so and so from back in the day do this? Like, would he realize X or Y thing? So it was a really personal experience, really emotional. Because I mean, a lot of those people we don't speak anymore for whatever reason, and so it was kind of just like wild. But it's a really, I think the result is really dope. Before we went live, we were talking about an interview that I did with Anthony at Comic Book Yeti, and what I thought was interesting about that is that Anthony mentions that he tries to avoid going too personal in his stories. Something along those lines. I don't want to misquote him or anything, but something like he only wanted to go there if he ran out of ideas or something. And I do the opposite. I'm like, nah, here's all my trauma and psychological problems and doubts, bathe in them. So that was pretty much my approach with Dryfoot, is making it something that is as much me as I could, Yeah,
the book is a direct relation to you and your life.
Yeah, and the lives of people that I've met and grew up with and became adults with in a really, and then people that I see every day,
Yeah. And I tell you, that's why, and Dustin, you can speak to this too, that's why we love these indie comics. And we love what's coming from Madcave, because we're not, or there's some stories coming out where it's, maybe a little more superhero-ish, but we're getting a lot of really raw, great stories. Even though that it's new IPs, but you're getting a chance to see this entire world build, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting something that you can truly connect to, versus a man flying around in a cape that you really can't connect to in any real way, right?
Yeah, right.
So I mean, we absolutely think that's awesome, and I absolutely love that. So that's incredible. So when did you start working on the book? I mean, has it been a very long process, or kind of how's that been?
I think I got selected in October, and I think Chris Fernandez, I think he emailed me maybe late October, November.
Okay.
But I was like rearing to go. I was like, let's do it. Let's knock it out. Because that's just how I am. I'm just like, I don't want to wait. I'm really impatient. I was like, let's just bang it out. I think I finished, and I finished. Chris could email me at any given time and tell me to shut up and do a rewrite, but I think I finished like my final batch of edits in January.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the longest it's ever taken me to script something. But Chris Fernandez, there's two Chris's at Madcave. Both of them are cool, but Fernandez is the one that worked with me on this one. Chris really is something special in terms of like an editor.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I know he's got like the big job. He's the publisher now, and and so like he it doesn't matter if like I'm nice about it, but he's like he really just zeroes in. And I think that one of the best parts of my experience with working on Dryfoot is that I felt like I walked away a better writer, because Chris really is like, no, like this is, and he's got just like really brilliant suggestions, really good criticism, and a lot of the story just got elevated to a whole another level because Chris was actively what do you say when you garden? Cultivating it, Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So what else? What is? I know you kind of give us a little bit of the premise, and Dustin and I got a chance to check out. I think it was 4 or 5 pages on the previews you sent over, which is actually available to anybody. So I can post that in the description afterwards. But so what I'm seeing right now is we have 3 or 4 main characters and then a big bad, right? Or at least kind of a very small piece of what I think is going to be the big bad. Kind of walk, and it's kind of hard because we don't want to give away too much, right?
Right.
So I guess for what people can see and what's already out there, kind of walk me through kind of where that inspiration for those first few pages kind of came from for you.
So El Viejo is our big bad. He's the guy in the first few pages.
Yeah.
I really wanted to get people to understand, and Chris and I were hammering this out whenever I started on the project, but we really wanted to show people the duality of Viejo and his private and his public life. And I wanted to open it with that because I was like, no, we got to show people that he's mean. Like, we got to get it out there in the air. They have to know.
Yep.
And that's because, these kids, and as a teenager, you always think you're right about everything. But they feel like they see him for who he is.
Right.
So, and that, I mean, they're not necessarily, I'm not justifying anybody's actions, but I think that really putting that image of Viejo in early, we really wanted to show the audience, the reader, that, this isn't somebody, these kids are living in a maybe kind of a dreamy world. But again, like, that's the veil of youth, you always think everything is exactly as you see it, but I really love those pages. I really love the close shots on the opening. That was one of my that was one of my favorite parts of seeing the pages come back, and they were the first ones, thank God. I don't know if I could have waited to see that, but it's the real tight, close, intimate shots until you really see, the little pieces of it coming together until you finally see them. It's really I really think Orlando and Nia really did an excellent job bringing that from a script to it's great. It's fantastic.
Well, and I tell you, for me, those, like, really the first 3 pages, and I just pulled it back up so I make sure I'm talking about it right, where you see him, and okay, so I'm reading the first page, the second page, and the third page. I'm like, man, this dude's like, going to be something serious, and then we get dropped into these kids on the baseball field.
Mm-hmm.
It was an interesting tone shift, right? It went from we're about to see some crazy stuff to boom, we're dropped. And so does that kind of stay similar throughout the story, kind of that same kind of tone shift? Or talk to me a little bit about that.
Yes.
I know you can't really go into too much, but
kind of like cliffhangers all throughout.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that for me?
I was saying it kind of seemed like a mini cliffhanger from one page to the next, where we're about to get into something, and then nope, we're gonna go over here for a minute, and then we'll come back to it.
I think that in terms of tone shifting, yes. I don't want to give anything away because the whole story is I'm really, that's one of the things that I really like when I'm writing a story like this that's really grounded. I like setting it up sort of as an expectation, and then you think that you're getting X or Y thing, and then you're not. And I like so yes, it's a big, there's a lot of stuff that I'm really excited. I'm probably there's at least one thing I'm probably just gonna delete Twitter off of my phone for the day. But I don't. But it's good. It's a good story. But I'll probably delete Twitter off that day.
That's awesome, man. I love how enthusiastic, man, and how passionate you really are about this. Because sometimes it feels like
excitement.
Yeah, because sometimes I feel like, man, you talk to some of these writers or whatever at cons or what have you, and they're just kind of, they wrote a book, but it's a job, right? And it feels like from you, it's not a job, it's truly passion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, this to me, this right here, this is everything. This is what I've wanted since I was 14. In the last 3 years, I've worked tooth and nail to get someone like Madcave to throw me a bone and let me do something like this. And so, I love comics. I love comics. It's probably my favorite medium for storytelling. But I see that I see that at cons pretty often, and I don't know how people can be so reserved in general, because this is me all the time, dude. Like, I'm always at 100, but also it's just like, it's crazy to me just because, particularly because Dryfoot is super personal, but also like when I see these people I'm working with, and I'm like, oh man, I get it. It's a gift that I get to work with Orlando. I think I knew Nia before she worked on the book. I was actually going to ask her to color one of my stories. and I knew her from she colored my buddy Kyler's book, his story of Deadbeats, that the music anthology, and she just did another one of my friend Sachi's book, Wayfinder. But I knew her, and I was like, man, she's super good. And so whenever they told me she was the colorist, I was like, oh, well, this is the whole thing. This is a team that I would have put together.
Yeah.
I really do think it's probably the best thing I've written. I'm really, really just super hyped up to get people to read it, to have it finally be out there in the world. It's because of the whole process. Like I'm very aware that I was super lucky in the sense that I not only got selected for the talent search, but that I got this story with this group of people. Yeah, and so there's an awareness there. They're still working, so that's where I'm like, yep, I'm gonna go talk about it on YouTube. Like,
I love it, man. Well, you're definitely welcome anytime. Obviously, as we get closer, if you want to come back on. Normally, about halfway through the show, what we like to do is generally give something away, but we don't really have that physically yet, and we won't be able to till June. So what we're gonna do is, maybe as we get closer, we'll bring you back on and we'll give away a couple of copies there, because we always like to, just get people to interact, but also give something a little bit back, right?
Right.
So perfect. So anything else about Dryfoot you want to add before we kind of talk about some other things?
It comes out in June, and you should go and start talking about it with your comic shop now.
Yep.
I was real, and I really want to make this book get the attention it deserves, just because of the people that have really put in tireless hours, from Orlando and Nia and Chris. Chris is probably, but Chris has put in probably more time. Has put in more time than any of us. And he had to read my early drafts, so he's already got like a sainthood about him, But I really am proud of it. I really hope that if it's not just because you don't have a pre-order code, you can still hype it. You can still be like, oh, I saw this handsome guy on YouTube and he was talking about this book and he was telling me it's super good and I'm going to trust him. He's got a real trustworthy face. So that's it. I just really want people to keep it in mind that it's coming. I really want. I don't even know what that said. What did that say?
Oh, sorry. It says Jared only goes big. I already know this comic will make splashes, and that's from John Lugo.
Thank you. I'm just super pumped. I'm super pumped. This is me every time I have a comic that's we're even putting on Twitter. I'm just like, yes. So really hope everybody checks it out. June 2020. That's one thing you got to remember.
Oh, we'll put it out there, man. We'll put it out.
They will know. We promise.
So, all right. And then real quick, one other thing. You mentioned it. Tarx 9 pre-ordering 4 copies. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll have quite a few between Dustin and I, especially for giveaways. And when we do giveaways, we always purchase them to make sure that comic shops see them going. Now, real quick. So if you see Jared Luján, his Instagram and Twitter handle is right there to the. Yeah, you see how it does opposite of what you think.
This one, yeah.
So do me a favor, guys. Once we get off of here, go follow him on Twitter. He's really active on Twitter. Really active. So go do that. And then I don't see as much on Instagram, but go follow him on Instagram.
Instagram for pictures of my dog. Twitter is for me to freak out every time they release a cover for the book. So if you ever want to see me just have a complete meltdown in live action, and a live tweeting my meltdown, that's the spot.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. So go check him out. And if you do go follow him, man, tag us in a post, let him know the Two Brothers Comics sent you. All right. So let's talk about some things maybe you've done in the past and some of the other things that you're doing currently. Because I know you do some stuff for Comic Book Yeti, but I kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into some other things, maybe some past projects, so people kind of get a good understanding of kind of where you're coming from as a writer. Yeah.
So I actually really like writing. Sci-fi is kind of my bread and butter, I think.
Okay.
I'm really into big stories but with really zeroed in on characters. And I really like characters that are messed up. like stories
In what
about
way?
stories that are of people that are like garbage people, and they're trying to be better, or they're in a situation where they have to become a better person.
Yeah.
I really like stuff like that. Like the Mandalorian. Mandalorian is like my joint. You know, it's this guy who's kind of a piece of trash who's really trying to be better. Hi, everybody commenting. Thank you for saying you're going to order dry foot. I'm going to remember that, and if you don't, I'm going to come find you. But that's my next plan of action of marketing the book, is threatening people.
Threatening for purchases. I love
it. If I see you comment, and I'm going to find you, make sure you got it. But I have a bunch of short comics that you can find on my website, which is Luján, spelled just like you see on this. I did it wrong on this side of the screen. It's Luján Writes, like writing.com. You can go. I have a bunch of free comics up there that are short. Okay. Me and some buddies just did a story called A Son's Legacy. That was in black and white. It's a mecha and kaiju story about difficult father-son relationships and hope and stuff like that. I just put that up on my website last week, so you can go on there and you can read that. It's an 8-pager. It's an 8-pager. It's really good. Kyler Clodfelter is the artist, and Buddy Boudouin did letters for us, and it's really good. And then I have a story called No Service on there. Mm-hmm. If you read the preview pages for Dryfoot. Man, that's embarrassing.
That's so good.
If you read the preview pages for Dryfoot and you think that, you know, the parts with the kids is funny, you can go check out No Service. No Service is just a fun story I did with some friends. And then I've got some like anthology work, but I really spent like a ton of time doing pitches and putting that stuff together and to try and get, you know, obviously a miniseries or something. But I never did, like Anthony did a full 22-page issue. We've never done anything like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know how he did it. We have a story, a buddy of mine, Kyler, who also did Son's Legacy. We have a story called Death Metal. We're probably going to have to change the name now. Thanks, DC, with your Batman event. But I'm bitter about taking second place to Batman. But we were talking about kickstarting that. But who knows, man? I think he and I's schedule might get a little bit crazy this year. So, but just go to Luján Writes. It's not. I don't use it for like anything other than pretty much posting free stuff.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I can actually share it and show people real quick, just a small bit of it.
Yeah.
All right. So you see, so here it is. I got it pulled up here.
Yeah.
The About page. So you guys go check it out. The link's down there, and I'll put it in the description afterwards. This is my favorite part.
Yeah.
Viking and the Wu-Tang Clan.
The Wu-Tang Clan. We haven't even talked about the Wu-Tang Clan yet. Yeah. It's for the children. I'm actually wearing my comics Wu-Tang Clan shirt.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
Nick don't know nothing about that.
Yeah, you got to come prepped.
No, I do not know anything about the Wu-Tang Clan, unfortunately.
Oh man, we're gonna have to bump it. It's kid friendly, so we're gonna have to do it after the stream ends.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Two brothers after dark, just listening to the Wu-Tang Clan.
Hey, that's a good idea, man. So if you ever see us popped up live and it's on the weekend or something, man, and you just want to jump in, feel free to shoot me something on Twitter or whatever. You know, I don't know if you've seen anything we did over the weekend, but you know, generally we'll have a hangout. People come on, join. We'll chat for a while, and the door's always open. You know, and that's to anybody. You know, Anthony, whoever. So definitely feel free. Definitely feel free to do that. So awesome, man. So the website, it looks good. Everybody go check that out. And then you do the comic book Yeti stuff. Do you do any of that other kind of stuff with anybody else?
Yeah, I do. I write reviews and interviews for Comic Book Yeti and Comics Bookcase.
Okay.
both of them are super solid sites with super good dudes at the helm. That I think writing reviews is actually what really elevated my writing game. You gotta sit there and pick apart why, not just why you don't like something. I think negatively speaking about comics is super easy. Oh, I don't like the art. Okay, dope. Like that's a real quick thing. Oh, I thought the writing was bad. Okay, but when you have to really look at why you like something, when you have to break down into character and why does the art work? Why is this good sequential art? Well, it leads the eye. Okay, why lettering? I think that I think lettering is one of the most common things I see. Yeah, it's super unappreciated.
Yep.
If that's one thing I could change about comic readers, it would be to really appreciate what letter. I'm not just saying that because Justin's watching. I love Justin. I love Justin's work, but it's also because if you have bad lettering, it is game over.
It's awful to try to read a story. I know everybody have talked about it, but there was I'll just Batman Who Laughs that came out, and it was so hard to kind of read that towards the end because the lettering was pretty tough. But like Justin, heck, I Justin, he said, "Don't lie." But all of his stuff is like, incredible, man. It's easy to read. It flows well. It fits the book, and that's something. You're only saying it because I'm here. That's why I love doing these live, man. It gives the people a chance to really interact. But yeah, I mean, it's you're right. It's underappreciated.
Yeah, I was just texting Justin today about what I liked about the lettering choices he made. Like I was looking at the preview pages again, and I was looking at the way he chose the lettering for the kids when they're off panel, and I was like, oh man, I wish I had thought of that, put that in the script, because it's like a really clean way of making sure it's smart. So, but yeah, I've been doing Yeti and bookcase for a year. Yeti's maybe just under a year, but I do a lot of it. I'm not a big two guy. I don't have like an issue or a vendetta against superheroes. It's just not like it's not. I read trades a lot for Marvel and DC. But I'm a big indie guy. My whole pull, because you got to be if you like indie comics, you got to order them. You got to get them in floppies. And so my whole pull is pretty much just indies and stuff like that. But I do a lot of independent stuff for Bookcase when I'm writing reviews. And by the way, real quick plug for a book that just went out to trade. No One Left to Fight. That's a good book. It's a good book, but that's not Madcave. So, but it's still good. But we at Yeti, I do a lot of the self-published and the deep indies. People who kickstarted their book, and I love that. Like that's my favorite. One of my favorite things to do is to sit down and check out people who are like me. They're real hustling. They're working hard. They're putting in the time and effort to try and make this dope thing for people to enjoy. And I really like seeing that. Every time someone on Twitter sees that I reviewed their book and they're like tagging me and they're doing what I do with Orlando, I'm just like, yes, this is rewarding,
Right on.
I love it, man. So have you thought about transferring that at all into like a different medium, like YouTube or something?
Yeah. So like I said, I don't do YouTube often at all. But I think about it sometimes. I bought a fancy webcam because I had to do I was afraid I was gonna have to do more. Like I was like, I don't want to be the grainy self cam guy. So I bought a fancy thing, and I don't know. I might. Honest to God, I'd rather do like video interviews with other comics creators. And talk about craft real specifically and get down to the nuts and bolts. I just had a really dope interview with Michael Moresi, who does a bunch of really, really dope comics. He did The Plot and Wasted Space. And I got to talk to him. He's great. He's a really talented writer. I did an interview with him for Bookcase and got to pick his brain about how he writes, how he splits between things like wasted space and the plot. If he's a big plot, if he has a big, if he outlines, because I don't outline anything. I think it's probably gonna, when Michael Moresi is writing like 6 titles, he's got to outline stuff. I'm just like, go, I think and so I'm probably going to have to change that if I have multiple projects going at once, but I just like let it rip, page 1, issue 1, and just all the way to the end.
I love it, man. So speaking of kind of, we'll shift gears here a little bit so people kind of get to know you a little bit better. So what's on your pull list? What are you reading now? What are some of your favorite comics?
Man, I just went and picked up a stack of books. I've had, I can't talk about that one. No, it's not. Kid friendly. Some of my favorite comics in the last year, I had She Said Destroy. I really dug She Said Destroy. Liana and I became friends because of She Said Destroy. It's super weird but cool thing. I think Liana's really talented. And Rebecca Nolte, who does the colors for that book, is really fantastic as well. But I was a really big fan of the plot. I love Wasted Space. I think Wasted Space is like one of the best sci-fi stories of the last several years, just because it's got like that Star Wars feel, but it's so rugged and grimy,
Are you reading like Heist, or I'm trying to think of like Alienated came out, and that's kind of sci-fi? Is that something you're into?
Alienated is also super dope. The way they do the colors for the kids, and they change the hues and stuff like that. I love little stuff like that. I loved Alienated. Canopus, just from Scout. And David, I think his name's Chisholm. I hope I don't mispronounce that. But he did Canopus is nuts. Did y'all read that?
I haven't yet. It basically sold out before we could get our hands on it.
Yeah. He's also a fantastic marketing guy. He's got a Scout book, and he sold them nuts. It's a good book.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Canopus, Canopous, something like that, right?
P-U-S.
P-U-S. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's super good. I really think that's it. Stuff like my concern when I approach like sci-fi is that I don't know if I'm like original enough. Do I have something that's unique enough? And then people like David are like, boom, it's just something brand new, and just deal with it. And I'm just like in awe,
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard, man, because like I sit back and I think like, okay, if I was trying to come up with an original thought or idea, and we do it even for our YouTube channel, right? Trying to come up with original content, it seems like at some point in time somebody's done it in some form or fashion, but it's all about how you interpret it, how you change things up, and it's always going to be somewhat original because it comes from you, right? So that's pretty interesting.
That's some of the best advice I ever got with writing was to just everything's already been done, whatever, it's fine, but no one has your voice. And so that's how most of my stuff came to fruition. I was just like, whatever, let's just go, let's just see how it turns out,
Yeah, absolutely. So let's guys, if you have any questions in the chat, let me know. Go ahead and type them in. But so Watchman Tower asked a question for you. So you based a lot of your past in Friends and these characters. How did you work on the culture shift from the Texas border town to Miami?
It's a really good question. I didn't put any Texas in it. I was just like, all right, let's just not do. No, I spent a lot of time reading about Miami, reading about Miami's immigration history. I've looked at the big cultural things in 1980s. The El Calle Ocho Festival in Miami, I looked that up, and I watched and read a ton about El Calle Ocho. And so I didn't include any of the accent stuff from Texas. This is my big Texas accent that no one is in there like, hey, what's up, y'all? No one's dropping their G's, anything like that.
Come on, no cowboy boots and Stetson.
No,
Stetson.
no one's carrying 6 revolvers on their waist or anything like that. So I just I really did a lot of research. Did a ton. I watched movies that.
Scarface.
Yes, I did watch Scarface. I watched a lot of 1980s movies for the book. The main character loves movies, so I was like immersed in it. But I watched a lot of 1980s film and movies and TV stuff that I could see that were set in Miami. That I could read online that people were like, oh, it's a good representation, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's always so interesting, I think, for me, whenever we do these chats, to see where people pull from, where writers, creators, where they pull from. You know, you're writing a book based in Miami in a time period where you either probably weren't born in or you were very young, right? Because this is based, is it late 80s, mid 80s?
It's 1984. Okay. I don't even think my parents could stand each other at the time that the story takes place, you know?
See? So it's kind of interesting to me that you're able to go and create this whole, basically you're doing this world building, and it's from a time period that you hadn't even been a part of, you know?
Yeah.
And I think
it's incredible to live.
What was that, Dustin?
I said, and in a place that you don't reside in, you don't live in too. So I mean,
yeah, I'm really into research for books. I really like finding the most like menial, stupid, small things that I think represent it. And I tried Florida. I tried so hard to get an alligator into the dry foot. Okay, and the original story is that I told Chris that we were just going to change all the kids into being alligators, and no, then he said that no, he wanted human characters. So I'm sorry, Florida, I tried, but that was like pretty much my full scope was like Disney World, alligators, Scarface, and so I did a ton of research to try and flesh that out.
Oh my goodness, that is.
I mean, you know, I can see, you know, when you're having to build this book around a real place, being a lot more difficult than coming up with your own surroundings and your own world, because at that point, you know, you're making the rules, and you nobody can really come back and say, oh, that's not right, or oh, that's not right. So, you know, with you having to come up with something in a real place during a real time period, and go through, you know, these characters going through a real struggle, you definitely have to put in a lot of work to make sure that, you know, your facts are correct, because people are going to catch that. And that's definitely commendable to be able to, you know, you put in that much effort and work to make sure that it was so accurate as possible.
Yeah, I really wanted to do, I mean, so all the Madcave guys are from Florida.
Yep.
So if I had turned in something that didn't, I feel confident that they would have been like, no, you can't do this. This is a lie, you know? I really wanted to, I did so much reading newspapers, old Miami newspapers, to get a feel for the crime beat is really what I was trying to get an idea of, like what kind of crimes are being committed by these gangs in 1984 Miami. And so I did a ton of that, and I really, that's probably that's my favorite part of writing is research, and then I suffer through the scripting, and then art, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So Dustin, anything else you want to ask? Anything
I can think of.
Okay, so Watchman said that's very impressive, and thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, that's really impressive for sure.
Absolutely.
So, all right, Jared, anything else you want to talk about? I know, is this going to be a 5-part or a 6-part miniseries?
This is a 4-part. Orlando had a schedule conflict to where he was only going to be able to do 4 issues, but he's a busy guy. He's a talented artist, so yeah, of course. But I was really glad that was the change, to be super honest, because I was kind of like bummed. You know, we were supposed to get a 5-issue, and then we got to like issue 3, and I was like, okay, I just got to get through one more. I just got to make it good. One more issue, you know.
I love it, man. That's absolutely incredible. But at the same time, though, that's got to be kind of tough, man, because you got to get an entire story. I mean, from beginning, are you going to leave it? Well, again, we don't want to go into too much, but I'm excited for it. I think it's really going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm super psyched about the story. I'm always optimistic. I'm really optimistic walking away from this one that I'll have more opportunities to do a 5-issue or something like that. With Madcave or whatever. With Madcave, but Dryfoot, you'll have to see if can there be a sequel. You've got to buy it June 2020. Yeah.
Awesome. I can't see someone with your enthusiasm and work ethic not being able to continue to be picked up for something down the line for sure. So
Thank you. I mean,
you can feel it. So real quick, I'm going to show the cover one more time. That thing is gorgeous. So our main character, and let me see if I can. I won't be able to do that. So the main character up top. What's his name again for the people in the chat?
So our main character is our guy in the blue long sleeve. That's Diego.
Okay. And
I'm just gonna tell you know what, that'll be a reveal. I don't think they listed everyone's names, and that's not spoilery.
Okay.
If someone from Madcave is watching, and I'm gonna get in trouble, turn the laptop off.
Well, it's in the previews, I think.
Okay, cool. So there's like Mariana in the front. Behind both of them are beautiful muscle man is Angel. Is I've heard both in Spanish, and then just behind him is Fabian, and that is our main cast of characters.
So just so you're comfortable, I did go back and look. So on page 4 and 5, we get every single one of those guys' name and a little bit on their bio.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's public knowledge now.
I already told them. I already said it. So I was like, it's like whatever. It's out there now.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
And they all seem to be just from what we got out of that the previews there. It seems to be definitely very different individuals amongst the group there, and so
it's
it'll be interesting to see how they mash together.
Yeah, I mean, like I was talking about whenever I was drawing from, childhood friends, they're just like, there's times where you're trying to figure out as an adult, how did we hang out with that person for so long,
Yeah. And
so they're all different people. They all have different personalities, and they're not even. I won't go into that. Let's just leave it. Let's just leave it there. I don't think that's a spoiler, but I want to play it safe because
no problem. Trouble, No problem. Well, I tell you this much: I think Mariana is gonna whoop some tail. I mean, I think with that baseball bat that you see in page 4, I think she's gonna. I don't know. You can't see anything yet, but I think she's gonna be the one to watch for because she looks like she has command of some folks.
She was my favorite character to write. Because as I explained, I cuss like a sailor on my regular day-to-day. It's bad. I know my mom's probably watching this and she's probably shaking her head and she's like, yeah, I tell you, it's bad.
Shout out to the mom.
Yeah, shout out to mom who's mad that I cuss all the time. But Mariana is my foul-mouthed kid, and so I was like everybody else is like having a nice conversation, and I'm like, here's an F-bomb,
That's funny. So is it too spoilery? Is it a big, do we know how old they are? Is that something that kind of comes out, or is that more of like a not addressed, or?
I don't think it's like addressed. I don't know. I think they're probably like 16 to 17, the whole crew. Maybe a little bit younger. Honest to God, I would say 15 to 17. It wouldn't be any more than that.
Fantastic. So Tarks said fantastic art. Have to keep out for any variants. So do you know if there's going to be any coming out?
Off the top of my head, I don't. I don't think anyone mentioned that to me actually. But if there are variants, I sure hope they. I think I have a lot of artist friends that I would love to try and do. Justin would, because Fabian's the cool one, so Justin relates to him. I think I have a lot of artist friends I'd like to do variants, but that's not my job. Madcave has done a really good job with everything, so I'm not gonna sit there and tell them how to do their how to operate their company.
No worries, man. No worries at all. So, all right. So I know we're kind of rounding out that hour mark. Anything else you want to talk about? Chat with us. I mean, we're fine to keep going, but I definitely still want to be respectful for your time. So anything else? Anything we didn't cover? You want to chat?
No. I mean, I think I'm going to talk up Madcave a little bit.
Okay. I'll tell you what. Watch this. Watch this. Boom.
Boom. Okay. Hell yeah, that's a lot of me. Look at that. Okay, so my laptop's down here. I'm not being weird. I'm looking at myself. I really think that Madcave is actually doing. I think if you really like indie comics, I think as someone who has been in the industry for like 3 years, and who has worked on the review and the press side, and now on this side, I really think this is the group to watch. Like right now, I think that's where you need to keep your eyes up. Anthony's Stargazer is incredible. And then I don't know if everybody saw the editorial hires that they just made, but you've got Steens.
Big names.
Yeah, Steens, Erica Schultz. I know it's Mitch something. I forgot his name, but I don't know him as well as I know the other two. And then Chris Sanchez just got promoted to editor-in-chief. Chris Fernandez, who is my editor on Dryfoot, got promoted to publisher, and that's a hell of a team. I think that if that's your joint, then you should really pay attention, and you should start with Stargazer if you haven't already. If you haven't picked up, if you're not buying Mighty Cave Comics, cool. Start with Stargazer by Anthony Cleveland, and I can't pronounce the other guy's name, but May. That's in May, and then continue it with Dryfoot in June, and then just don't ever stop, and just keep going until you have no more money.
Absolutely, man. And that's kind of what we've been saying. And I think we started with Jay because he's actually local to me. Dustin chatted with him. But every Madcave book you pick up, it's quality story. The physical paper is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds kind of silly, right? But you go pick up a Marvel book, you go pick up a DC book, it's already torn, it's ripped, it's bindery tears. I've never picked up a single Madcave issue that Diamond themselves didn't mess up.
Right.
That had any of that. The paper quality's there, the print quality just in general. And they always show up on time, right? You don't have issues where these books are being delayed 2, 3, 4 weeks down the line.
Mm-hmm.
When Madcave sets their goals, I mean, it's fantastic. So
yeah, and I know it's easy to chalk up my enthusiasm because I work for them. I want to work for Madcave again, but most of me wants to work for Madcave again not because they're great and they've been super good to me. I'm not saying anything like I wouldn't otherwise, but I'm really a big believer in the steel sharpens steel mentality, and like I told you guys, Chris made me a better writer at the end of Dryfoot by being harsh and fair and having good things. When I saw Steens and Erica Schultz, I was like, yep, like that's the stuff right there. Chris Sanchez is super dope, but he's going to be a great editor-in-chief. I would love to have to work with him on a book as well. But that editorial team is mean, man. That is something mean, and I think people are going to have to really open up. I met Steens at C2E2, as a matter of fact, and she's got to be like one of the. She's super nice in person. She intimidates the hell out of me because she's so talented. Like, I was terrified. I had to work up the courage to talk to her just because I know who she is. She's super dope. So I really hope people start paying attention to that, because I think that with that shift up last week was nuts. Just a phenomenal lineup of editors.
Well, and they announced. Sorry, Dustin, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, absolutely, yeah. I mean, for sure.
And it's not just that, man. But then they opened up this reviewer hub that now is a big thing.
Which
They've
is
also
really
done.
cool.
They have that retailer program.
And then the retailer program, because I know we had a conversation on our channel with an actual local comic shop owner that's been doing this for his 19th year is April 4th. And his biggest frustration is there's so many books out there. People don't know what people might be interested in, not interested in, etc.
Right.
But Madcave has now created this program to allow people or retailers to really understand what they're getting themselves into, right? And I think that's kind of, again, outside looking in, but probably a struggle whenever you look at independent publishers, because you know what Superman's going to be about, you know what Flash is going to be about, but what is Dryfoot going to be about? And are my customers going to want to consume that information? And I think that gives a great advantage to retailers, so that they're not stuck with, things that their consumers may not be into.
And people that aren't deep into the comics market stuff don't know that the standard is that retailers just are stuck with product they can't sell, because it doesn't work like that in the normal book market. And I've been personally emailing, like, I have a list of comic shops. I'm on, like, I'm in the 400 area.
Wow.
Yeah, because I want shops to know that, like, Madcave or not, like, I'm their guy. I want to help them sell my work. I want to create a good, beneficial relationship with them. And so I took it upon myself to email, like, all of these shops that I'm asking them to sell Dryfoot, and making myself available to them, because, I don't want, it's for me, I'm always in the long haul, and I think that I honest to God, I don't want to, I'm not going to name anyone's names, but that's not me. And it's my first book. I probably shouldn't be coming on YouTube and starting beef. But, in all these conversations with these shops that I've had, they're like, yeah, so-and-so and so-and-so used to help us out with this stuff, and they used to come down with stuff, and now we just don't hear from them. Now we're just expected to just buy it and deal with it.
Yeah.
That's why I think smaller publishers like Madcave and Vault and stuff like that, I really think are going to start, I really hope are going to start picking up on the market, because not because I hate anyone in particular, but just because they really are making themselves more accessible to retailers.
Yeah.
And as long as we're going to say shops are the lifeline of the industry, we've got to have publishers and creators that are willing to reach out and figure out what we can do to make it better,
Oh yeah, it's a big circle of life. I mean,
because you really need each other.
Yeah, I really think that if you're a creator, and I've had a really dope experience talking to shops so far.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to respond, and that's fine. Shops got things to sell. But really just doing the bare minimum and spending some time out of your day to try and, like, talk to them, I really think is the move. Shops want to buy your stuff so that they can sell it for money.
Exactly.
You gotta sit there and have a good relationship with them and figure out how to do it better. I want to sell for Dryfoot. I want people to enjoy Dryfoot, so I want to help them do that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, but absolutely. So are you going to be doing any con appearances, any signings, anything like that when it comes out?
I am doing signings in Texas.
Okay.
I have 4 or 5 shops that have asked me to do stops. San Antonio, Dallas, and I believe just outside of Houston. So I'm going to be like a week where I'm just driving across Texas, being stupid big.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't even started calling shops. When I start calling shops is when I'm really expecting there to be a spike in that. But so I'm driving, doing signings over there right now. I just got back from C2E2. Presuming the coronavirus does not shut down NYCC, that's probably my next stop.
Awesome.
I don't know for sure, but I got to see a lot of things by that time, because I think that's October. Is that normally when that show is, right?
Something like that.
So.
Yeah. So seeing how things are in October or the month out, where I really want to go to NYCC, I'd love to meet all the dudes from Madcave that I've been emailing.
Oh yeah.
Harassing. I mean, Manny Castellanos, the director of sales, he just got promoted too. He's just a big job. He's got to be sick of talking to me. He's super nice, and he'll never say that, but he's got to just be like, oh my God, please stop. Like I talked to him about Star Wars, and then he's like, oh yeah, we'll have a conversation. And then I'm like, anyway, so here's what I was thinking. And he's just like, God, like, it just, Manny, if you're watching, I try not to message you before 5 o'clock or after 5 o'clock when you're not working. But man, yeah, he's got to be sick of hearing from me.
But that's what it takes, man. It takes a team to build this kind of stuff up.
Yeah.
So fantastic, man. So real quick, I wanted to show a couple people in the chat. So Mark the Cuddy Sark, thanks, Jared. Appreciate the time today. So that's great. And then he also said, thanks, Nick and the Green Ranger, for bringing this to us. Dustin's a massive Power Rangers fan.
Oh, nice. Matt Ehrman is writing a new Power Ranger. Thank you. Yeah, and man.
Then Watchman wants to know when your Dallas and Houston date. Do you have those kind of settled, or we're still working on those?
I'm still working on those. My ideal situation is that I will do 2 signings in Dallas. And, my ideal situation is that I'll have a stop between Dallas and Houston because that's huge. But if not, you can follow me on Twitter. That's not a shameless plug. If you really want to know the dates, I'm going to put them on there. Yeah. I'll probably know that like a month before the book comes out. For sure, I'll have it nailed down and everything.
So about early May, mid-May, something like that.
Yeah, I would look out for that in May, and come and tell me you saw me on the shop, and then I will give you. You saw me on Two Brothers, and I'll give you a crisp high five.
That's what I'm talking about. So again, his handle's right there at Jared Luján, not Luján, Dustin Luján. And we had a bet on it to see who was right. So that'll be awesome, guys. You guys go follow him, as well as Madcave Studios, because without both of them, we wouldn't be getting the kind of content we are, and we definitely appreciate you. And I know Jared said earlier that he talks this way about Madcave, and it's not because of he's he's doing work for them. Dustin and I, we have zero association, right? We just really enjoy. We really love what they're doing, and we want to keep pushing out there as much as possible. So wrap it up, man. Anything else? Any other questions in the chat? Dryfoot comes out June 2020. It's going to be a 4-part series. And don't just go follow Jared. Go follow the rest of the team that's been a part of putting this together. Okay.
Really, Orlando has been posting sneak peeks at the art. So if you want to see, you want to follow. If you want to see a sneak peek, a little pictures of the panels, you can go follow Orlando's most active on Instagram. I have to get more active there because he and I are opposites. I don't even know if he has a Twitter. But he posts little snippets of it, and it's always super good. Nia has Twitter and Instagram. You can find her there. I'll tweet out her tag after the show so everybody can go follow her. Because like I said, I think she's going to be one of the top tier colorists in the game by miles. If she's this good this early on, she's going to just be a stunner.
Awesome.
All right, man. Well, if there's nothing else, you guys go follow him. Go talk to your local comic shops about getting this book as soon as you possibly can. Don't forget about Stargazer coming out as well. So put that on your pull list and your previews. Should be up as well. If you have any questions for Jared, he's widely available on Twitter. I assure you, if you tweet him, that's what it is. You tweet somebody, tweet at him. I promise you, you'll get a response, and probably pretty quickly. But other than that, Jared, we appreciate you so much. We appreciate the team at Madcave, and Dustin, as always. Do it.
Correct your way.